After spending time with me, people get two things.
Is this stress good for our health or bad? Why we do not feel safe these days? And also, how to master stress?
I would say the one that is quite simple and yet quite profound in its impact is just regular sensing of ourselves.
Hey there, fellow seekers of inspiration in Monday Talks. I'd really appreciate your support. Sharing is caring. Spread these incredible insights by sharing this video with your circle. Lastly, your support by subscribing, liking, and sharing means a lot to us. This will help us reach even more influential voices to enrich our conversation. So thank you for being a vital part of Monday Talks. Let's keep the positive momentum going. Subscribe, like, and share. And together, let's keep embracing inspiring stories.
Recording. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Monday Talks again. Is this stress good for our health or bad? Why we do not feel safe these days? And also, how to master stress. Many more points to discuss with Yulia. So I have Yulia Bogdanova with me today from Germany, right?
Yes, I'm based in Berlin. And
welcome to this session, and thank you very much for attending my Monday Talks today.
Thanks, Daniel. Glad to be here.
Not to mention, Yulia can be the best person to talk about herself and what she's doing. So how about you introduce yourself? Who's Yulia?
Yeah, I'd say it like that. After spending time with me, people get two things. The first one is resilience. Resilience, and I mean resilience, internal resilience, where if we were talking about stress, for example, it's not the kind of resilience that you just going through a lot of exercises or practices and having spending a lot of time on managing stress and whatever. It's just you having uncovered this ability that we as humans have inside, and you being able to use it for the mental and physical health. The second one is peace, and this is kind of feeling at ease with yourself. In my experience, this is actually a great source of internal stress. So we have external stress, but we also have internal stress from being not happy who we are, or trying to fight who we are, or denying or shaming. So a lot of those things. So that's the second thing that people get from working with me. And then the third one, I usually go for three, but this one, it's bespoke for everyone. So I work in individual coaching programs, and then we discuss what it is that the third thing that's important for the person.
Cool. That's about what you do. So let's hear more about who are you as a person.
Yeah. So my space is mental well-being, mental health, mental well-being, and I am in this space because I am on my own journey and have been for a long time. So I was, I knew that in my family, mental health was a weak link. So I didn't want to end up like some of the adults in my family with sad stories. And so for over 10 years, I've been professionally exploring mental health and well-being. And I tried a lot of different things. We know that this is quite a special field because there are a lot of kind of mental unwellness nowadays, and not a lot of help that really works for people. And so that's what I was facing. And I tried nutrition. I'm a nutrition consultant. I tried, then the turning point for me was stumbling upon breath. And this is where I found myself on an adventure. There is this guy whose name is Wim Hof. Maybe you heard about him. He calls himself an Iceman. And so there was on his expedition in Poland in the winter, where he was teaching people how to be in the cold, in ice cold water. And yeah, just be there, kind of. So his model consists of cold, breath, and mindset. And this is where, for the first time, I felt, wow, this is what created a huge impact for me.
Okay,
And
the ice. The ice was the trigger.
The breath and the ice.
Yeah.
But the important thing about these two things that they're physical. Right? Because we think about mental health, we feel it here. And actually, there is a lot going on here as well. We just don't feel it. And in general, mind, it's not about the brain. It's a lot of things, including the body.
Yeah. This drives me to my next question, which is like, differentiate the difference between brain and mind, and who's in control, who's driving the actions and responses, which part of our bodies?
As far as I'm aware, there are still debates about that. Of course, brain is super powerful, and we don't know a lot of things about the brain. What we do know about the mind, that the mind is more than the brain. The mind includes the brain, and the mind, as defined, this is from a program of a neurobiologist, Dan Siegel, whose program I took. And it's a complex self-organizing system of energy and information flow. So it's basically what's inside and all those systems and processes that are going on, but also what's outside and in between, like you and me talking together. That's part of, that's a thing that's affecting now our minds.
So we influence each other by how the mind can respond, or the whole action can come up with.
Yeah, so mental health and mental well-being, it would include the brain, it would include everything that's going on in our body and how we perceive our body. It would include interpersonal relationships, and it would include also the environment that we're in.
It's a very complex thing, all connected together.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to stress. Often considered negative. Everybody wants stress relief, remove the stress, whatever. Actually, plays a pivotal role in our lives. Can you like shed a light on how stress can harness positivity and transform into driving force for resilience and growth? How can it be good? Yeah.
Well, I see, as you are saying, stress is just there. It's part of life, right? And if we take, for example, physical stress, then it becomes very apparent how stress is there to actually help us survive and get stronger under certain conditions. And that was also the story with that cold plunging and being in the ice water. It's when you do it mindfully, there are some rules there as well, then actually, you can feel a lot of improvements in your physical and mental health. What was I talking about? Yes, the stress, yes. And, this is how the stress is in our lives. I mean, without the stress, you and me wouldn't be here, and our ancestors wouldn't have survived.
How can we use it to get positive things, positive outcomes?
So to achieve positive outcomes, we have to, being stressed comes at a high cost. It can bring us energy. It can bring us like more focus, if we know how to be with stress in the right way. But this will not be the case if we swim in stress and if we feel chronically stressed. Yeah, so let's say.
So this drives us into a different direction. It's like how to master the stress. In this era of a fast-paced world, what strategies and practices in daily life do you offer individuals to follow, not only to manage the stress, but also thrive in it by presence?
So a couple of things I want to say about this. First, how we perceive stress. It already starts there, because if we perceive stress as an enemy, then we anticipate and we almost feel the stress before it even comes. And then we already expect something to happen, then we'll limit the number of outcomes that are there. It's kind of, okay, we come with a predetermined mind. And so there are things that we can do about the perception of stress. And there is actually an interesting TED Talk that actually has documented health benefits of just this shift in perception. Then there is the stress itself. So we do not want to think about stress as something mental, because stress is so physical. Like I was sharing the story on LinkedIn how I inadvertently got an adrenaline shot. And a lot of people probably know how adrenaline feels. It's like you have a lot of energy and your heart beats really fast and your breath becomes really fast and shallow. And you can feel how the blood comes to your extremities and stuff like that. This is what stress does. It's very physical in nature. So let's include that. If we want to be like inclusive, this is the nature of stress, right? So we cannot really master stress by only looking at the mind or even feelings and emotions. We actually need to sense what's happening. And then the third component, I would say, is who you are as a person. So there are some things about us as humans that we share. For example, we all respond to stress. When we respond to stress, something happens first in the body. It's also confirmed science. And then the something gets interpreted by the brain as emotions, for example. So we share some things in common. Then there are people who I really enjoy working with, and they are driven people, and they live and lead in very high stress environments. And for a long time, they actually enjoy this and feel this energy of constant adrenaline rush, kind of. And if we talk about this group of people, for example, then we would find in most of them that they're very insensitive to stress. This is their characteristics. It's like, they just know that they can have to get things done. Some of them know that, some of them, like, pain is part of the process. It's like, yeah, pain, okay, fine, but it's just, I need to get there, right? Or some of them say, I don't really feel anything until the night where they crash, or until they reach their 40s, for example, when this culminates into some health problems. And so there are these three components, the context and our perception, what stress is, who we are as individuals. Well, and there are other things, like basically what approach that I use is teaching about who we are as humans and as individuals, and those things, that kind of laws that are built into us in dealing with stress.
Okay, in the quest for success and fulfillment, the concept of safety comes into play. Could you elaborate on how can we create a sense of safety within ourselves, and how this can be effectively merged with the pursuit of achievement and satisfaction?
Yeah. So for me, a lot of these people, again, that I work with, a lot of them self-select to become entrepreneurs, to, do whatever. They feel very driven to be doing something all the time and to create change. And then they're driven. What's behind their drive? A lot of time, it's actually fear. And this is maybe heard about, it can manifest as imposter syndrome, or it can manifest like a lot of beliefs about themselves, that whatever, something is wrong with them, that they're not enough, and they can not really be here. And that negatively impacts their health. That also can drive them to success that is not defined by themselves.
This is
So
like
they just kind of,
this is the case. I want to say, like, some cases say I am successful in the eyes of others with a high level of fulfillment and success in life, with all the assets I gain and the income I get and everything. You look from outside, everybody sees me as a successful person, but still I have this emptiness feeling inside me. Is that insecurity, or is that stress, or is that what? How do you let's say talk about this?
Yeah, so I see it like this. So they're driven somewhere, and because fear is about that kind of stress and about protection, they lose this connection to themselves. And there is a physiological even connection. Like you and me, for example, would be feeling different things inside. And, when we are in certain states, emotional states, they would, like, the state and what's going on in the body could be different. And so they lose this important source of information about themselves, about what's important for them, and what's in that at the core, like the deep core. What are the values, what the impact, what's important to them, because of the kind of chronic stress, which some people don't even realize that they have. There's like, they've been like this their whole lives. Maybe, a lot of times since childhood, because we do bring a lot into our adult lives without having made a conscious choice about it. Just, take it on from our childhood and then, continue. And so this is how they end up, with a drive, with a lot of success as perceived by the outside people, but empty inside. It's because, okay, they were doing something, but it's not necessarily what's meaningful for them. And a lot of times they actually find it very hard to articulate or to know what it is that's important for them, because they, kind of disconnected from their intuition, the gut feeling. It's all, again, very physiological stuff.
Is it like we set ourselves a goal to be stress-free? Is this healthy? Or once we finish one, we will get another one, and stress will never be ending anywhere?
Well, we have this in our culture, right? So it's all about the next goal. It's not about the present moment. It's just hopping from one goal to the next. I had a client, also an entrepreneur, who came absolutely exhausted, and he has 5 kids, and he's over 45, I think. And he was just so exhausted from constant challenges. Other people were, just couldn't believe what he was doing. So it was like doing one thing and then the next, and then adding a lot of stuff, like physical training on top of this. And he said, I just could not stop. I just could not stop. It's like, this is a habit. And there are a lot of actually neural connections in our brain that supports that. On top of that, he also had a history where in his family, this is how his dad and his grandparents, they were kind of always running to save their lives. And this, he had this in him, like, passed on through generations. Yeah.
Okay. And well, I had to say, well, thank you very much, Yola, for sharing profound insights into human mind, stress management, and quest of fulfillment. It's been an enlightening conversation. Before we conclude, could you leave our audience with a key takeaway or simple practice they can implement right away to start cultivating a healthier relationship with their own minds?
I would say the one that is quite simple and yet quite profound in its impact is just regular sensing of ourselves. So most of the time, our attention is directed outwards, and we don't even know, what's happening inside, or what our feet are doing, or like what's going on, how we're sitting. And so if you could just do check-ins, internal check-ins, let's say 3 times per day for 1 to 2 minutes, just sensing yourself from your feet to the head without any real agenda, just as a practice observing yourself. And this is like kind of seeing ourselves in our entirety, again, the holistic approach that takes us away from this being very brain-oriented into seeing and sensing and feeling the whole of ourselves. And I find this very, very powerful way to just taste a little bit that it can be different.
So it's like, it can be physical thing to do every day that make us the right track of our stress mastering.
So there is a lot of to stress mastery, of course. So this one step won't get us to exactly to the stress mastery. In my experience, it shifts the perspective a little bit. It shifts the perspective of having to be thinking and analyzing to change something from thought-based. So we're very like thought-oriented. Thoughts, well, some feelings maybe. So we're going from thought-oriented in a game to more including also into this, the physiology. And it actually does something with the mind and with the brain as well. So the brain will be impacted by the fact that you are just sensing the body a few times during the day in a positive way.
How is that related to habits? Can we change habits to change our perception of stress? Or maybe when I get stressed, I take a cigarette, or I have this habit of like getting out of the current situation that I'm stuck in, or I take a deep breath, or I just go jogging. Is that something practical?
Yes, very much so. And you can do it anywhere, right? So if you're, let's say, in a meeting, even in the street, right? You can just go back to your sensing and observe your body, maybe observe the breath, just observe without actually trying to change. Sometimes you need, there is a whole thing on breath work, and I'm a breath work instructor. I would start with just observing. So it gives, you're kind of doing nothing, and yet you get a lot of power back into how you respond. Not react, but respond. It kind of a really grounding experience. Really nice grounding experience.
I have to say one thing, your journey shows in your eyes. It's like everything comes with a desire for the thing, because you've been in pain I could see that out of your how do you explain that? So your journey and expertise offer a wealth of wisdom to those seeking transformation. Let's say for our viewers who resonated now with your messaging, with your messages, and would like to learn more or connect with you, where can they find you and learn about your offering?
And for now, it's only on LinkedIn that I'm present. My website is in the process of being created. The other one is too outdated to be of any use. And so it's, yeah, the LinkedIn, it's where you and I met.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, lastly, Yulia, we're so incredibly grateful for your time and expertise. As we sign off, is there something, a key message, a quote, or mantra that personally find inspiring and could share with our viewers?
Mantra as a quote. This is what's been on my mind lately, and I don't quite remember the exact words of the quote. And it's to think that we are not interconnected is madness, something like that. I think it's an Einstein quote. And this talks to the fact that, you know, that part that we discussed earlier about us being connected to each other in our relationships or not relationships, and connected to whatever, the nature, animals, the planet. This is actually a major part of the mind and the health of the mind. And there is like a lot of power there. And this also brings me to this kind of invitation for people, if they're not feeling well, they have to find someone, a person who is well regulated. And that connection alone can do like magic things.
Wow. So he better or she better searching within her circle of connections and find someone stable, let's say, in fights with his own stress, and just like takes charge some energy, right? Is that what you're saying?
For some exchange, yes.
Beautiful. So positive people can, let's say, help others by absorbing this negative energy and just turn it or transform it into positive thing.
They give you a part of their regulated self.
Oh, that's something. Beautiful. Well, that was us, Yulia Bogdanova, Daniel Tokat from Monday Talks. So if you have more questions, any concern about stress and stress mastering, Yulia, you can find her on LinkedIn, and the link to her profile will be within this post. Don't be hesitant at all to talk to her. She's always open. That's how we connected to each other on LinkedIn. Well, thank you very much, Yulia. And it was really pleasant to have you in our program.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. It was a great pleasure.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.